Good afternoon and welcome to the Smart Connection Consultancy's webinar number 3 about design secrets for synthetic sports fields. My name is Martin Shepherd. I'm the Managing Director of Smart Connection Consultancy, and as part of our commitment to the industry, we've done a series of 4 webinars to go with our Smart Guides and to share some of the information that we've learned over the last 10 years of working with the key sports for the installation of smart technology. So what I'd like to do today is just give you some design principles overviews and some of the enhancements on synthetic fields with new designs, some of the challenges and how they're embracing the designs, and then what I want to do is just talk about some new technologies, the 4th generation, and using some IT. So at Smart Connection, our commitment is to the industry to really try and make a difference so people can understand the need for more sports fields, natural turf fields, hybrid fields, hard surfaces. We're also using synthetic technology to rest the natural turf fields so that it's done in consultation and to complement the natural turf fields. We do this through webinars such as this. We've done 5 smart guides for you. And also we have a LinkedIn discussion group. We're not just about synthetic turf, we're actually about leisure planning. You're about getting more people active, getting more people out there, playing sport, participation growth. So that's what we're doing. And we just use this as one of the vehicles to get more people active. In terms of how we look at synthetic fields, we look at them holistically. We want to look at the design side. So how do you plan to design for all people? So it's about creating places, about encouraging people to embrace what you're doing. It's not just about the functionality or the technology here. And this is why today's webinar is really looking at the design principles. So we're looking at and using the urban design protocols for Australian cities. And the aim is to create productive, sustainable and livable places through good leadership, and we're committed to doing that through the way we design and how we work with local governments and sport to make sure that what's designed, what's used is practical, is functional, but encourages more people within cities to be active. And we do that by looking at the urban design. It's got to be productive, it's got to be livable space, it's got to be sustainable, and that fosters environmental responsibility. It creates and cultivates healthy lifestyles because of the way we're designed, the way it's produced, the way it's integrated into the local community. And we do that because we think it's the right thing to do. It enhances economic productivity, greater living, and it makes it more affordable. Leisure and open space is critical for the physical and mental health of the community. So the urban design protocols have a look at it from a place and from a people point of view. And the principles look at enhancing local community, connecting community, making sure it's diverse and inclusive, and it's sustainable and enduring and resilient over the longer term. And that's what we want to design and what we specify in our synthetic fields. Because really, it's not a synthetic field. It's actually somewhere where people play. It's just using synthetic technology to achieve that. So we want to make sure that it's livable, it's comfortable, it's vibrant, it's exciting. People want to feel safe going there, and it's walkable, so people can get there. The links are there to make people want to do it. And if we do that, we show good leadership and governance by working with our local councils and sport to make it work. So we look at it in context of the physical and the social context. We engage through good community stakeholder relationships and consultation to make sure it works. We foster excellence. We look at innovation about what we want to try and achieve. What does council want to do? What's their sustainability? Because at the end of the day, council are the custodians of the lands for the next generations. We've got to make sure that it works, not only for the current players, but what future people want to use. And within each of those principles, we actually have a look at various attributes, how it helps achieve a world-class design. And there's some of the things we put in there, that are put in there. So we're just going to have a look at two areas, connecting physically and socially. So we want to connect to the local area, to transport, to the design. Is it near schools? Is it about being close to leisure centres when you decide where you put the sports fields and the synthetic fields? How can it be integrated into the local landscape? Is it embraced by the community socially and in terms of ownership? Because if it's not, it won't get used as well as it could. People need to know where it is, or it's not hidden away. And that way people will have the ownership, socially connect to it, and it will be used. We want to make sure that it's enduring, it's sustainable, it's resilient. So we look at the environmental sustainability, the water harvesting, the heat, the changing climate and what we need to do. We look at the drainage. We increase it from a 1 in 10 year event to 1 in 50 or 1 in 25 year. We look at the water harvesting, so you collect the water, retain it, and use that on natural turf fields next door to it, so it complements the use. In terms of sustainability, environmental leadership, we look at the microplastics, we look at the infill to make sure it doesn't get into the local food chain, into the waterways, and that's really important going forward for future generations. We look at the green engineering, how much of it can be reused, how much can be recycled, how much when you first build it is recycled material, so that it's not all new and we're wasting the energy in producing that. And we also want to make sure it's built for the next generation. So we should be looking at the base for at least 20 years and it's well maintained throughout the year to make sure that it gets its 10 or 12 years life expectancy. So we embrace the latest trends and enhancements. We look at sustainability and green engineering. We look at the intensity of usage to meet future demands, not just the demands of today. But we've also got to balance all of this with management functionality in the design, balancing community concerns and community opportunities at the same time. So some of the challenges that need to be embraced around the fears of and the concerns within the community. So PAHs and cancer and the infills. And we use the latest techniques and the latest standards from around the globe to reduce any probability of that happening. We look at microplastics in the environment and we look at how we can work with that. We look at the heat by temperature and the heat island effect and the perception of loss of open space. So within the microplastics and containment, we use things such as this, so an upstand or a lip, if you like, around the outside of the field, so we contain the infill on the field. We're looking at different yarns, so we look at what's called a dual yarn system. So you have a monofilament stand and upright, and then we have a tape over it, which contains the infill so that it doesn't spill out onto the outside. And that is, we believe, making a huge impact. But just in case any of it escapes, so to speak, like on the shoes or the boots of people, we actually have gates like this, pro gates. So it catches and it rubs it off, which can then go back on. Same on tires on the maintenance sheets. And also the drainage is now put underneath the carpet. And we can actually put filters in there to catch any yarn tips or indeed any of the infill on that side. Now we know heat and the UV radiation is significantly higher in Australia than the majority of the rest of the world. And the more north we go, the harsher it is. So we identify UV as both a heat issue and also it breaks down the design and the makeup of the yarn. So what we do is we are constantly asking for higher UV stabilization within the yarn, and we're also looking at how heat can be used, and we're using the FIFA heat index for the field, so that if the field is a 2 or a 2.5, that's going to be cooler for people to play on than what it would be if it was a 3. So the standard is 1 to 3, whereas 1 is actually normally seen as a natural turf field, which is irrigated, all the way down to a 3, which would be black SBR on an open field. So we look at these things and see how we can do it. But it's still going to get warm. Whichever way you're going to go, it will get more warm than a natural turf field, because the natural turf field has water within its fibres, if you like, within the grass, and that evaporates to keep it cool. So what we do is we put drink fountains in around the field. We don't put sprays onto the field because that increases the humidity, and that's dangerous for kids. We talk about the loss of open space, or communities do. But if you look at many fields around, these are how the fields are in the middle of winter. And that's not good for anybody. So by having synthetic fields, it can actually have more people training and playing on them, which means it rests the natural turf fields and maybe next door. So think of having synthetics or asynthetic field around lots of natural turf fields, because it rests the natural turf fields so they don't get played on like this. And a type of field that can be used for multi-sports is this one up in Moore Park in New South Wales. So it's designed to play rugby league, rugby union and football on it. Football both in terms of 11-a-side and also the 5-a-side fields. And you can see the different colour lines. You should also be able to see the netting structures that come over from side to side, and that allows for 8 games of 5-a-side to be played. It's exceptionally busy in that part of Sydney, all because of the way it's been designed. Now this is, I think, one of the best designed fields in Australia. We were very fortunate to be involved and work with the council's design. And what's happened here, some of the really awesome points, is that the field is designed for AFL, and you can see the cricket wickets in the middle. It's also designed for rugby on the rectangle, and you can just see the blue lines for the rugby union on there. And it's also played soccer on it. Now, because of the way the bushland is here, and this was based over a very reacted waste tip, so a concrete plinth was placed on top. And there's pylons for it to sit on. They go between 9 and 29 meters in depth. So what the quarry was, I suppose, and then the tip. I like this because it's got the goalposts are stored outside, so not on the inside. Along the back fence here, so north of the fields, you've got the AFL posts are stored along there. You've got a 3-meter wide pathway that goes all the way around, which means when games are being played, you've actually got people leaning against the fence, but they're still wide enough for people with push chairs to go past. The fence itself is aluminium, and it's an aluminium picket fence which fits in with the bushland setting. The drainage system, because it's on concrete, is a drainage cell, and on top of the drainage cell is a shock pad. So the water and the rain goes through the shock pad on the drainage cell, and the drainage cell takes the water away to this new culvert, which actually takes the water away. So it collects the water from the bush, and then now collects it from here. So it clears the water down, and on a winter's day, it's very fast flowing. And so council has now put bridges across so that you can go into the bush, and it really creates an amazing feeling for the whole area. So it was raised about 1.5 meters in some areas and 2 meters down here, and it really creates an amazing environment for people who are playing sport. On the southern side down here, on the left-hand side of the picture, you've got some new pavilion, and that's used and shared for scouts, for rugby, and for soccer, AFL, and for cricket. And one of the busiest fields around New South Wales that we go to and we keep an eye on. So in terms of the design, the sports standards need to be designed in, whether that be FIFA, rules, of state competitions or Football New South Wales, Football Victoria. FIFA have a quality manual for the standards of sport for synthetics. And they've got two standards, quality and quality pro. So that's the community field and the stadium field. All of the sports have defined standards for the synthetic fields. And what we've got to do is work out whether those standards are high enough for Australia, and the majority of the time they're not. So we have additional fields for durability, the intensity of use, for things like the pavement design, for UV needs. And so all of that has to be taken into account for and how you design the field. And then in terms of the management, and whether it be a community field such as this, where you have half fields and quarter fields, or whether it'll be a centre of excellence, which is this one's in Amsterdam for Ajax, where they've got different surface types for the centre of excellence in their academies. And you can see the forefront, you've got the drill areas for people, you've got basketball, you've got table tennis, and this is all for football players to play on. This is a design that was done by Pittwater Council, as it was then, together with the local school. And the school was dropping in usage, and it had been 1,300, it dropped down to 500 students, and they decided to reposition the school based around sport. And so the design was done for soccer and for AFL. It's also used a bit for rugby league, and we've got some semi-professional teams to train there, which are now associated with the school. And at Narrabeen Sports High, the numbers have then started to come up in terms of patronage. This is a school down at Endeavour High School, where the single pitch and the soccer fives was put in, 9 mini fields, if you like, which is used during the day by the school, was used by the commercial operator in the evening and the weekends, funded by the commercial operator. So the school gave the land really as a joint proposition, and the money and the income that the operator spends and then creates in terms of revenue allows the money to be paid back, or the investment to be paid back over the first 10 years. School has a huge increase in terms of quality sports playing field, and then community also benefits. And this is more unique designs, where we understand that the traditional 400-metre athletics tracks don't have an appeal to a lot of people in the community. And as a qualified athletics coach with national athletes, I understand how it can be boring for people. Whereas this design is exciting. It gets young people active. You can see it being used by elite athletes here, but you can also see some of the parkour activities that people use for balance, and again, kids more active. And it really does, for kids, for adults, for older people in terms of balance. It's an exciting area. It's integrated into the parkland, over the hills, past the trees, etc., as you can see. And because of that, it's constantly used by the local community. And it's for fitness, it's for exercise, and it's for sport at all levels. Admittedly, you can't do your javelin in the middle, but that can be accommodated in fields next door to it. So it's really about thinking about designs and how designs can be different. Other designs include this one we're doing for clients in Sydney and interest in WA, where it's a multi-level facility where you've got a full field on the top, half field, quarter field, and then revenue generating space with car parks and fitness gyms and office space underneath on the ground floor. And it just makes it simple and easy, and makes it available for people in a smaller footprint. And that's what we need to be considering on the design. So the next generation of technology, if you like, is looking at no infill. So this is called 4th generation. And it may happen and may come out to Australia over the next 5 or 10 years, where it's just sound on the inside. Also, we're seeing now smart technology being used, and we're now seeing this in Australia, a number of venues where it actually monitors the number of people on each area of the field, so you can actually see the reality of how many people are playing, as opposed to maybe sports clubs telling you how many are playing. And this will allow you to program and monitor fields a lot smarter, so that if there's only 10 people playing, they can go on one half of the field. You don't have to take the whole field, and then you can bring another club in on the other half. So it'll really maximize it. It'll also send you alerts when it's closed if people are then on it, so that there may be vandalism, so you can get onto that really quickly. Because it can actually track where people are playing, it'll give you hotspots and show you where the main areas are being used. And that means you can then link that to your maintenance areas. So they're the type of technologies that we're now seeing. It can measure how many people are on per hour or half hour or even every minute of the day. And then you can compare that to other fields that you've got where you've got the same technology. So to go back to the beginning, we're talking about design. We're talking about urban design. We're talking about how we get more people energized to come and use facilities, to be active, to play, to participate. And these are some of the ways you can use design protocols within cities, within the communities, to get more people active. So if you want to know more answers and you want to get your head around this, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to explore feasibility, master plans, and look at that side for you, or just point you in the right direction of other people that have already stepped before you and share with you some of their experiences. So just to finish off, if you need anything on the synthetic side, just give us a call and we'd be more than happy to help you and get it right and work with you to show how you can get more people being active in your local community. Thank you very much.